Some people has asked me to speak on the Portuguese spiritual tradition and Christmas, to give a small message how the spiritual Portuguese traditions sees in our days and by its perennial tradition the Christmas. As we are looking at this image that will stay for all this small improvisation, Christmas, or the Nativity of Master Jesus, was represented in very popular works of art in clay. They were molded with much love and appreciated by everyone and children that would come in the days before Christmas to feel and to receive the blessings and make their arts aspiring to that moment when the light would come to the planet. These beautiful works of art, called in Portugal presépios, and which we have from the 17th century and 18th century, so beautiful ones, and we have here one made around 15 years ago by an artist from one of the old ceramics factories, Bordalo Pinheiro in Caldas da Rainha. We have represented the different levels that are operating in the Christmas and that we have to be aware. So we see Joseph and Mary, they are the fathers, the ones who unite their souls and bodies to make a new baby come to this planet, a new soul enter, and in this case a very higher and spiritual soul and spirit, the Master Jesus, as will be known after, and that will be called Christ, Jesus Christ, Christ being the word for anointed in Greek, and this word is a translation of the Messiah Hebraic. Then was expected to come by the prophecies of Daniel and Elias. They had prophesied two different kinds of messiahs, and that tradition of expecting the messiahs or the higher messengers or the saviors is all-pervading in different traditions. And so Jesus was born. It was born represented in a cave. Why the cave? Although it's possible that he had traveled in the womb of his mother with Joseph, maybe to work in Egypt or to work near Jerusalem, whatever, but was stopped in Bethlehem, and there she gave birth to the Master Jesus. This birth is the symbolic birth also in ourselves of the divine spirit that is within us and that must be also awakened. It is awakened by our work, by our life, by our aspirations, by our prayers, by our meditations. Through them, our spiritual body is being made, is being built, is being developed and nourished, nurtured. And so, in this time of the year, it's a good time to hold on some moments of indrawing attention, of recollection, and where we meditate and we pray, either calling aloud, either singing, either only mentally, and then we enter in silence And either in our meditations, either in the dreams, we shall receive some hints that are given to us from the spiritual world, from our masters, ancestors, angels, and from our own spirit. So this inward attention, this intuition, is so much important that it was symbolized also in this happening that at that time was experienced by the shepherds that are here seen offering their fruits, and with their small lambs, the innocent animals. These animals are really the spirits of the nature that are to be also taken together, as animals and nature is not only physically but also spiritually. And at the higher level of this we have the angels. The angels as the messengers and the intermediates between God and mankind, between the higher realms and the lower realms of the physical manifestation. We have the angels, and so the shepherds have heard the angels, and ourselves, we should be also shepherds. Shepherds, why? Why they live a simple life. Why? Because they are nomads, pilgrims. Why? Because they have their heart opened, and so they could listen to the angels. So also they have developed in their lives patience, great patience. And patience, it's very important to receive the inspirations, to keep our mind being curbed and curbed, as so many thoughts, so many impressions, so many memories are coming out. And so we have to work with patience until the dawn of the inner light, or the images coming from the realm of the angels, will happen in our third eye, in our inner soul. And that was happened there in this relation between the shepherds and the angels. The angels was singing Hosanna in excelsis, meaning this great praise to God in the higher worlds, and the shepherds in the small world, the microcosmos of human beings, they heard that, and they offer themselves what best they had. That is a symbol also in the pilgrimage of life. We should be with heart open, with attention to our intuitions, and to these higher movements that the angels inspire us, of unity, of fraternity, and to share then our capacities, our belongings, our presents that are offered in this moment to Jesus. So in this nativity scene, or presepio, or creche, that was supposed to be developed mostly on the 12th, 13th century with St. Francis d'Assisi and the Franciscans that went to Portugal also very quickly, where St. Anthony of Lisbon and of Padua became a very important master, traveling out of the body by his own will and having a deep spiritual and mystic experience. These Franciscans have given to the Portuguese mood a kind of simplicity and fraternity that was also developed in the time of discoveries, as they were many times in the front expeditions and interrelations with the natives of other countries like India, like Persia, like Africa. And so this spirit of the shepherd should be in us during the life. It is also pervading in many traditions of other countries. And then we have a second channel of the Portuguese understanding of the nativity spiritual meaning. It is the magus, the magicians coming from Persia, that were supposed to be 3 or 5 or more, and there is many stories, although no one knows exactly if they arrived at the time of the birth, if they arrived very much later, and if they were really masters to adore, worship Jesus, or they were masters to help Master Jesus to develop himself. Anyway, these great beings meaning have many, and special one. They were people who worked with their minds and studied and looked into the cosmos, trying to discover the reasons and causes, and they moved guided by the star of Bethlehem. This star is also a symbol of our spiritual eye. It's mostly a symbol of the spiritual eye. There was no comet, no special planet, but just they were following their inner spirit, and so they were being guided by their intuition and their vision. As our spirit is a star, a small star, a scintilla, a spark of fire coming from the divine being, and that is what incarnates in ourselves, as was incarnated in the body of Jesus, and that must be baptized, anointed, transfigurated, meaning expand His presence in our awareness, in our life, in our body. And so in these days of Christmas, Portuguese people, they were used to prepare for that moment, and they are related to the longer and bigger nights of the world of the year, and they are so very much a time of colds and in drawing, and so people could feel more the inner life, or to enter in the grotto or the cave of the heart, where this mystical happening is to be understood, seen, felt. But in our days of so much facilities and outward traditions, as buying presents, as going to celebrations and spectacles and whatever, we lose very much this capacity of feeling the heart, seeing into the inner heart, where we can really see the light and discover the inner dimensions of the spiritual world in us, and where we can begin to feel the birth of the divine in ourselves, and that are the higher senses of the spiritual meaning of Christmas. And so in this time of the year, our wishes are that people can really pray and then meditate and be in silence and breathing slowly, retaining the energy within, get restored their balance of energies in all their beings and centers of energies, and then slowly try to be more aware of the heart level, and there let some prayer, some aspiration be born, into which our mind will be drawn, and from the external thoughts and preoccupations you will slowly begin to follow this prayer, this mantra, this small word or prayer that we began to do as an invocation of that spirit, of this divine being that is going to come more into our conscious and being also. So, can we really have this capacity to be in a state of peace and joy for being in the worship and in the invocation of God? Let us just relax and in a position of meditation do some breathings and retaining the energy and breathing not just the air but the energy and the blessings, and we make connection in a spiral with the guides and angels and with divine. And this spiral, it goes inward and outward, and so we become an axis, a column, and we are making the connection and the union between the earth and the heaven. And as we breathe, receiving the energies, we are then invited to worship in aspiration the divine being. May your presence be more in us. May your presence awaken me more to your best qualities of love and wisdom. May I awaken from feet to the head in a spiritual body and manifest these qualities in harmony with the others and with the cosmos. So Christmas time in the Portuguese tradition, although in our days has been very much submerged by buying presents and talking and speaking and especially eating, still there is some people who are doing some prayers and are going to some celebrations, religious, and doing some meditations. Others are giving their own beings in abnegation and solidarity, and so there is still some power of the Portuguese tradition, but this inner awakening, this inner connection with the angel, with our guardian angel, is most important. This inner connection with the guardian angel and from him to the archangel of Portugal is also important. And this connection by the meditation and prayers with the spiritual masters, like Jesus, like Mevlana Rumi, like Gautama Buddha, like Ali, like Krishna, Guru Nanak, and so many other religious beings from other traditions than the Christian. They all should be welcomed as guides and masters, and we should go behind their religious dogmas and religious habits that many times have been distorted by the political and human society and habits and minds and ambitions. We have really to be in an inner connection, and that is the true religion. The true religion is a connection within ourselves, with the spirit, with God, with the higher beings. Connection alive, a living one, where we can see, we can receive, either in dreams, either in images, either in intuitions, either in voices, either in sounds, either in signs. By all these means, there is a constant interplay of communication between the spiritual world and the human world, if we are open, if we are in the path, if we are really having the aspiration to the true, to love, to God. And that are the most important qualities that we should acknowledge, that everyone is a son or a daughter of God, that is a being that, although has many differences from us, should be related as a brother or a sister, and we should have patience and comprehension to understand him in his great affirmations or claims, or even in his limitations. We should accept them. We should be so in a state where the Divine Being is shining in us and is trying to awaken the Divine Being that is in the other. And that is the true meaning of marriage. Marriage is a process between two beings of awaken more their spiritual being and generating another spiritual being that would be either their life and their creativity, either a baby that will be born. And so we are here in these days of Christmas celebrating this union between the spiritual world and divine world and the physical world. Other countries, like in Persia, it will be the times of the birth of the Himams. In India, it will be the Diwali of Krishna. And so many countries, they have their own times. And today, in our global society, we should take also the good aspects of this mingling together of all traditions in the one universal religion, in the one religion of love and truth, and that are the one we profess, that are the one really that we are one. Although we are born in particular religions, or even we develop very much love and practice and faith on them, we should not anyway cling too much to one religion. In our days, our most important state should be one of universality. We should be setting the other paths as also paths, even if we can see and we can dialogue on that there is customs that are barbarous or iniquitous on the religions, or that are not good for women or whatever. We should really try to grow to a 21st century religion where the true teachings of the masters are understood in their deeper levels, that are levels of love and liberation, and not of binding and violence. So whatever you see violence in a religion, then you should be sure that it's gone astray, it has gone out of their true meaning. Religion is a question of inner synchronization with Divine Being and living it in our daily life as peace, as love, as understanding, as strength, as justice. Surely sometimes the strength and justice qualities should be strong and should be almost affirmative against the errors or the violence of others. Then it will be a defensive energy, and it will be protecting the ones that should not be killed or perished by the violence of others, and then it will be perfect. And religions are mostly related to this aspiration to know more the truth, to know more the Divine Being and live it. And that in Portuguese spiritual tradition we had in our ears, that we are already celebrating 1,000 years. We are having these masters that have developed that understanding and experience something of these inner search and inner discoveries, and we can speak in these last centuries Antero de Quental, very important spiritual seeker, or Fernando Pessoa, now most famous, also a very strong seeker of the truth. But we could go up to Francisco Sousa Tavares in the 16th century, also a very strong mystical, or after that other ones that were also especially women in their convents, the sorores, that were having very strong mystical search for union with divine. So the Portuguese spiritual tradition at this time of the year is in one of its peaks. People are getting more happy, they are expecting something, but lost in the external world. They are mostly expecting just foods and presents, and they don't look so much for the inner search and realization. And that was supposed to be the most important. And so there is some ones who are doing that, but surely we are hoping that there will be more and more. And in this celebration of Christmas, people will give some time for silence to receive the blessings and to see the inner light and to feel in their hearts the blessings of the spiritual realm. So I will say goodbye, and I will say I wish you that you have some small communion with the Portuguese spiritual tradition, and that your heart will be more aflame in aspiration and in peace and in love, and like shepherds in union with animals, like angels in connection with us, we may be more and more in a society and in a daily life of harmony and of more awareness, linking the spirit from the higher levels to the levels of nature. Om. Amen.